Well, I think we can all agree it's an unfortunate story, but it's a story nonetheless, and that's the revelation of a video that surfaced, yet another one, the second time, of Ja Morant with the gun. And he is now suspended from all team activities while the NBA decides what further steps it may take. To start this conversation off, as we look at this video here, Otis, and this is the video in question, and there's the gun. Jeff Calkins, I thought, had some interesting perspective on this and how he and the community moves forward. I want to put that up there and get your reaction to it. Okay. Calkins said, whenever Morant returns, and no matter what sort of discipline he serves, he should consider embracing a new role as a spokesperson against guns and gun violence. Not as a public relations stunt, no. Not to get all of his endorsements back. Not as a substitute for the hard work that he plainly needs to do on himself. But later, after taking all the time he needs, can you imagine the impact Morant could have just talking to kids? I don't know how he's a choice not to do that. It makes total sense.
He should have done it the first time.
Should have done it the first time.
I mean, that's the problem here. I mean, this is a second offense, and when I say offense, this is not a crime. And certainly in this state where the legislature has said anybody can carry a gun if you're 18 and over. So that's off the table. But the issue about guns is a really sensitive issue here in this city. I mean, we just had the city council and talking about Dr. Jeff Warren pushing the referendum to ban carrying guns without a permit. So it's a real touchy issue here. We have a lot of violent crime here. We have young people who look up to Ja Morant, and if they see him with a gun, they're going to say, it's not an issue. I'm going to be carrying guns. So yes, I do think that, first of all, Ja Morant has disappointed a lot of fans like me because I wanted to see him play. I think he's going to get a heavy suspension. But beyond all of that, it is going to be very important for him to show some real contrition and not just give some lip service to it.
And that's all we've had so far. Rev Norman, your take?
My take is I'm going to push back a little differently. So Ja is one person, a microcosm of a macro community and larger issue. Guns in society are a huge issue. Mm-hmm. I see a young African-American man holding a gun. My reaction is different than when I see someone else holding a gun. When I see kids who walk into a store and they buy repeater rifles and they buy magazine clips and have all of these things. They glamorize it, they glorify it, and it's not that much of a crushing impact. I understand Ja's a celebrity, but there have been other celebrities. There have been other people in other areas. So I think we can't pin this whole issue on this one person because he had this superstar kind of role and this bigger than life persona. I think there's a issue that we need to deal with and ask him to get help for himself and for his family in a private way, but not to heap the whole gun issue of society on this person. A lot of people are coming down on Ja for this thing, and I think he'll serve his penalty, whatever comes along with that. But we need to also look at the issue on a much larger scale in our society.
Mm-hmm. Well, self-inflicted, I think we all agree.
It's self-inflicted.
Did not have to happen.
No pushback on that, but you know.
And he said that he was going to do better. Right. And he had that long interview with Jalen Rose, and he was talking about, I'm going to be a better person. And then after the playoffs, he said, I'm going to have to concentrate. And then this happens. So, I mean, that's the problem.
I'm in the redemption business, okay?
Well,
here's what I believe. I believe I hear people say that all the time. I'm going to do better. And it doesn't happen within 30 days.
Yeah.
It takes time to do better. Yeah. And it takes a whole lot of adjusting of your atmosphere and the people around you and the support you get. Yeah. And I know the more you push against that individual and the more you come down on them, the deeper they go into it and not the more they come out of it.
I get you.
So another story we've been following, Catherine, is the city council. Otis alluded to it earlier. Dr. Warren, the city councilman, sees it and is trying to present it in a unique way, honestly, as a public health issue. A state government has the responsibility to take care of the health of its citizens. And you can make an argument when you look at guns being the #1 killer of kids that we're not doing that. So his idea that J.B. Smiley, who we also showed, is now co-sponsoring the ordinances with him, is to pass these two ordinances that would ban handguns without a permit and would ban the sale of assault assault rifles, period, within the Memphis city limits. And their goal is that the public would vote for that next year, and then we would just sit on hold because it would be in direct conflict with the state law, and see if the state doesn't come around. I don't know. We'll see if that happens. But what do you think is the real motive behind this? Because its chances of success not very good in terms of it actually changing law here in Tennessee.
First, I want to add that there's actually a third component to the ordinance, which
Okay.
is that they added, which would be red flag laws.
Okay.
So it's
That might
both
go
the
through.
permitless carry, assault rifles, and the red flag laws. There is a small possibility hinted at by Alan Wade, who we talked about earlier, that it actually could be enforced by the city council. He didn't want to get into that in public. He said that would be, a litigation strategy, so he wanted to keep that behind the scenes. But it is possible we'll see them trying to enforce it. J.B. Smiley said, bring on the litigation from the state, bring on conflict with state law. So that's a distinct possibility, even though Jeff Warren framed it as a trigger law that would only go into effect if the state were to align its laws with this law, which seems unlikely considering that it has 3 different provisions. So I don't know what we'll see, but I do think it's possible the city council will make some move to try to enforce it if it's passed by the
Well, what
Memphis
is it?
voters.
If Alan Wade says he's found a legal path, I'm listening.
Well, yeah, you better listen to him now. I mean, he's been right so far. But, there's a special session of the legislature scheduled for August 21st, ostensibly to talk about issues around tightening some gun laws, maybe dealing with some red flag laws, but I'm not optimistic about it. Because now I hear and I read where some of the politicians are saying, no, let's use this to even get tougher on people who are committing crimes. Mark White said that the other day in a guest column. So I don't have much hope for this. I do think it's a great strategy by the city council to put this before the voters. I think voters will approve it without question. They're tired of guns. But another fight with the legislature is going to be in the offing here.
Your perspective, because you met with the governor not too long ago.
I did. I had an opportunity to meet with the governor this week.
Is he very aware of just this? More and more we're seeing just this conflict between Tennessee's 2 blue counties, Davidson and Shelby, and the rest of the state, which doesn't seem to understand the grip some of these problems are having on our communities.
So I'm going to take a more practical and hopeful approach since Otis doesn't have any hope. I'm also in the hope business, all right?
Hope and redemption.
So hope and redemption, yeah. So I think we need carve-outs for the major cities across Tennessee. I think you have to look at it from a perspective of population and the trigger of violence that's taking place in that particular community. Some of the smaller counties are saying no to this because they don't have these problems. Some of them just don't have those problems. A county with 3,000 people and 2,500 of them know each other, no problem. A county with close to 1 million people or 900,000 where people don't know each other and they're migrating from different places, we need some carve-out rules from the state law that will give us some local governance over this matter. I'm hopeful that we can send a resounding measure by our vote on it to say to the state, 90% of the people, 80% of the people in Shelby County or in Memphis want this to happen. So let's do what we can to consider easing this law for those areas. And if you propose it as a carve-out across the state for the major metropolitan areas, it may have a little hope.
I'm not seeing it.
They just
I
signed
know
the
this
law.
legislature.
You're looking at a crystal ball. I'm looking at some hope. Give me something. All right.
They just signed a law this week.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow the cities to have their own citizens.
tough.
Right, review board.
It's tough.
Absolutely.
It's tough.
I just don't see it. This legislature has disappointed me time after time.
It's tough.
All right. We'll let it go there. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Tyree Nichols case. If his family were to succeed in suing the city for $550 million, when the city budget is $782 million total, what kind of problems could that cause? We'll be right back.